The shuttle slowly descended through the glowing sky of Thealara Prime, a world unlike any Eli Mercer had seen before. Floating gardens hung in the air, supported by soft magnetic fields. The trees shimmered with crystal-like leaves that made musical sounds as the wind passed through them. Tall towers of smooth white stone reached high into the sky, each one shaped like flowing water. Commander Eli Mercer sat quietly inside the shuttle, watching everything with wide eyes. He was not just a soldier today, he was a diplomat, a bridge. Between two worlds, humanity had been invited to meet the Thyalari, a mysterious alien race that had made contact just 6 months ago. This was the first time a human would walk on their planet. They say they're peaceful, Eli thought to himself. Let's hope that's true. When the shuttle touched the landing platform, the door opened with a soft hiss. A small group of Thyalari stood waiting. They were tall and slim, with long arms, smooth skin that shimmered faintly, and hair like threads of silver. Their eyes were large and bright, glowing faintly in the soft light of their city. They wore robes that seemed to float around their bodies like mist. At the center stood one figure who looked slightly different. Her eyes were the deepest shade of violet. A silver crown sat lightly on her forehead, and her robe had golden patterns. That moved like flowing water. "I am Lady Sarai," she said with a warm, melodic voice. "You are the human called Eli Mercer." "Yes," Eli replied, trying to hide his nervousness. "It's an honor to meet you." Sarai smiled gently. "Then we shall begin the greeting ceremony." Eli followed her to a circular platform surrounded by gently glowing stones. As he stood in the center, the Thyalori formed a circle around him. One by one, they stepped forward, lightly placing their hands on his arms, shoulders, and back. It was part of their traditional way of showing welcome and peace. At first, Eli tried to stay calm, but the Thyalari touch was strange. Their hands were cool, soft, and full of strange energy that made the hairs on his neck stand up. And when Lady Sarai touched his hand, her fingers brushing lightly over his skin, he felt a rush of warmth rise to his face. He was blushing, Sarai noticed. Her head tilted slightly, her eyes studying him. "Your skin has changed color," she said. "Why is that?"
Ow.
Eli looked down, a little embarrassed. "It's a human reaction. Sometimes when we feel nervous or surprised, the blood moves to our faces. It's called blushing." A quiet murmur passed through the Thyalori around him. Their faces were calm, but he could feel their curiosity pressing in like waves. Lady Sarai seemed thoughtful. "We do not change color when we feel. We feel deeply. Still, your reaction is fascinating." She gently touched his cheek with the back of her hand. The warmth in his face grew stronger. Her eyes lit up. "You are doing it again," she said, blushing. "Does it mean we caused you discomfort?" Eli laughed nervously. "Oh, not discomfort, just ... surprise. Where I come from, that kind of touch is sometimes seen as very personal." Sarai nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "Touch is sacred among our people. It means honesty, peace, and welcome. But we did not mean to offend." "You didn't," Eli replied quickly. "Just ... different for us." The greeting ceremony ended, and Eli was guided to a nearby garden platform. It floated gently above the surface of a lake that glowed with soft blue light. Sarai walked beside him. "You humans are very expressive," she said. "Your faces, your voices, they show much emotion. It is beautiful." "Thank you," Eli said. "We try." Sarai looked at him again, her eyes calm but searching. "Do all humans blush the same way when touched?" "Not always," Eli said, chuckling. "It depends on the person and where you touch them." Sarai blinked, thinking deeply. "Fascinating. I believe our understanding of your kind has only just begun." As the sun began to set over Thyalora Prime, casting golden light across the city, Eli realized something important. These aliens were not just strange beings from another world. They were intelligent, curious, and maybe even kind. But more than that, they were truly interested in what made humans different. And that difference might be the key to something far greater than just peace. It might be the start of something truly new. Commander Eli Mercer had only been on Thealara Prime for one full day, but already he could feel the weight of his mission. The Thylauri were a peaceful and beautiful species, but they were also very different from humans. Their culture, their language, even their way of thinking it, was all unfamiliar. But what surprised him most was their habit of touching during conversations. On Earth, people touched only when they were close friends, family, lovers. But here, the Thylauri used touch like a handshake, a question, or even a greeting. A soft touch on the wrist meant I'm listening. A gentle press on the back meant I respect you. But to Eli, each touch felt strange, too personal, too close. He was trying to adapt. Really, he was. But the blushing kept happening. The Thylauri noticed it every time, especially Lady Sarai, who now served as his main guide. She was always calm and polite, but clearly fascinated by his reactions. That afternoon, Sarai brought him to a large crystal hall. The walls were alive with soft blue light, and large floating stones hovered in the air, each one glowing with moving shapes. This is our memory archive, Sarai explained. It holds the shared thoughts of our people, our history, our learning, our science. Eli nodded slowly. It's beautiful. Like everything else on your planet. Sarai smiled. You are kind. Please sit with me. They sat on a soft bench made of living vines. As Eli tried to stay relaxed, Sarai turned toward him. We have studied your biology, she said. Your people are strong and quick to adapt. But there is one thing we do not understand. Emotional signals. The face changing color, the breath catching, the fast heartbeat. These things are new to us. Eli shifted slightly. It's just part of being human. We're emotional creatures. We react to everything where it's touch, memories, sometimes even silence. Sarai tilted her head. And when we touch you, ... like this. She reached out and gently touched the side of his neck with her fingers. It was light, soft, not painful, but Eli felt that warm rush rise into his cheeks again. His breath caught, and Sarai noticed. There it is again, she said softly. The blush. Eli let out a small laugh and looked down. Yes, that spot is sensitive for us. Does it hurt you? No, not at all. It's just, we're not used to being touched there unless it's by someone we're close to. Sarai looked thoughtful. So it means trust, or attraction, or nervousness. Or all three, Eli said with a shrug. It depends. Sarai smiled gently. You humans carry so many feelings. It is beautiful, but it must be heavy too. Sometimes, Eli admitted. But feelings help us connect. Even if they cause pain sometimes, they make joy possible too. Sarai was silent for a moment. Then she leaned forward, placing her hand over Eli's. This is not to cause discomfort, she said. It is to show respect. Among our people, touch means truth. Eli nodded slowly. And among mine, asking first means respect. Sarai's eyes brightened. Then I shall ask next time. They both smiled. Later that evening, Eli returned to his private room in the guest tower. He looked out over the glowing lakes and floating trees. The planet was so peaceful, yet filled with mystery. And Lady Sarai. She was kind, curious, and strangely easy to talk to. He thought about the way her fingers had brushed his skin. Out. In a romantic way, but gentle, curious, respectful. And still, it made him feel something. He shook his head and smiled to himself. You're not here for that, Eli. Focus. But deep inside, he knew things were changing. The Thylauri were. Learning about humans? And maybe, just maybe, he was learning something important about them too. The sun on Thylauri Prime rose slowly, painting the floating towers in soft golden light. A quiet mist hovered over the crystal lakes as the day began. Mercer stood on the balcony of his room, sipping from a warm cup of herbal drink offered by the Thylauri the night before. It smelled sweet like flowers and had a calming taste. Eli looked over the city, still amazed by how peaceful and clean everything was. But inside his heart, things weren't calm. He had come to represent humanity in this first contact mission. He was trained for diplomacy, peace talks, and cultural exchange. But no one had prepared him for the soft touch of an alien's hand, or how it would make him feel, especially when that alien was Lady Sarai. There was a knock on his door. It was soft and rhythmic, the polite way the Thyalari announced themselves. Eli opened it to see Sarai standing there, dressed in flowing silver robes. Her violet eyes glowed gently. "Good morning, Eli," she said. "May I come in?" "Of course," he replied with a smile, stepping aside. Sarai entered the room, and Sataruna looked around curiously. "We have reviewed your language more deeply. There are so many words connected to emotion, hope, longing, regret, affection. These are powerful ideas." Eli nodded. "They are. That's what makes us human." We walked to the edge of the room and touched the wall gently. A glowing map of Earth appeared. She studied it for a moment before turning to Eli. "We want to understand your kind. Truly understand, but we find your reactions ... complex." Eli laughed softly. "We feel a lot, even when we try not to. It's just how we are." She stepped closer, folding her hands. "Yesterday, when I touched your hand, I felt something. Not just warmth. Something emotional. I do not know the word." "Connection," Eli said. "Or maybe ... comfort." "Yes," Sarai said, eyes widening slightly. "Comfort." Laksha looked at him for a long moment. "Among my people, physical touch means openness. We touch to show that we are not hiding, but with you, it brings strong reactions." Eli took a deep breath. "Because to us, touch means more than openness. It can mean trust, affection, even attraction. Sometimes it brings memories. Sometimes it makes us feel exposed." Sarai's voice softened. "So when I touched you, did it make you feel exposed?" He nodded a little, but not in a bad way. She smiled again. "Then perhaps we are learning." Later that day, Sarai took Eli to the Song Garden, a place filled with tall glass flowers that rang like chimes in the wind. The colors danced across. The air and the sound was peaceful. They walked slowly, side by side. As they walked, Sarai shared more about her people. "We have not felt deep emotion for many generations," she said. "Long ago, we were like youth full of feeling. But we chose logic and harmony over pain. We speak through touch and thought, but rarely through heart." Eli looked at her. "Is that why you're so interested in us?" "Yes," she said. "Because you remind us of who we used to be. We might become again." Eli stopped walking. He looked into her glowing eyes. "Sarai, can I ask something?" "Of course, why me? Out of all humans, why are you spending so much time with me?" Sarai blinked, then smiled. "Because you blush." Eli laughed, caught off guard. "That's the reason?" She nodded. "When you blush, I see something real. I see honesty that is not hidden, and I ... wish to understand it." Just then, a gust of wind passed through the garden and the glass. Flowers rang in soft harmony. It was like the world around them was listening. Sarai reached out and gently placed her hand over Eli's heart. "This is where your emotions live?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Yes, in a way it is." She pulled her hand back and looked at her fingers, as if she had touched something powerful. "Then I believe this place is sacred." They stood in silence for a moment, neither of them moved. The song garden continued to sing around them. Eli knew this mission had changed. It was no longer just about peaceful talks or understanding language. It was about two beings from different worlds learning to feel together, to bridge the gap between mind and heart. He had come to Thyalora as a diplomat. Now he was something more. Eli Mercer sat alone in the sky garden. High above the shining towers of Thyalora Prime, the soft wind moved through the glowing leaves. The blue sky slowly changed to a pale pink as the sun began to set. The garden was quiet. But Eli's thoughts were loud. Things were getting complicated. He had come as a representative of Earth. His goal was simple: build peace, make friends, and learn about the Thyalari. But now, each moment with Lady Sarai pulled him deeper into something personal, something emotional. Their talks were no longer just about language and customs. Now they spoke of feelings, of memories, of things that truly mattered, but not everyone was happy about that. Earlier that day, Eli had been called into a meeting with the Thyalari High Council. The room was large and round with silver pillars and soft white lights that floated in the air. 12 council members sat in a half circle, their faces calm and unreadable. One of them spoke, her voice clear but cold. "We have studied your behavior, Commander Eli Mercer," she said. "It seems that you and Lady Sarai are forming a unique bond." Eli sat up straight. "Yes, she is helping me understand your people, and I am doing the same for her." Another council member leaned forward, perhaps too much understanding. "Emotional closeness may affect the purity of this exchange. Our people have lived in balance for centuries. Feelings like yours can lead to imbalance." Eli stayed calm, but his chest tightened. "With respect, feelings are not weakness. Emotions are part of who we are. Without them, there is no real trust." The first speaker nodded slowly. Then, "Perhaps your mission is complete. We suggest you return to your ship and observe from a distance." It was a polite way of saying, "You're getting too close." Eli left the room in silence, but inside he was frustrated. Wasn't the whole point of this mission to create true connection? Now, as he sat in the garden, he waited for Sarai. He wasn't sure if she knew what the council had decided. A soft chime rang behind him. He turned and saw her standing there, her face calm but her eyes full of emotion. "You spoke to the council?" she said gently. Eli nodded. "They think I've gone too far." Sarai walked closer and sat beside him on the smooth stone bench. "They fear what they do not feel. It has been a long time since anyone touched the heart of a Thyalari." "And what about you?" Eli asked, turning toward her. "Do you fear it too?" Sarai looked at her hands. "I was taught to hide emotion, to guide with mind, not heart. But when I met you, something changed. You react to things so openly, joy, confusion, even awkwardness. It made me curious. And now, ... I do not want to stop learning." Eli smiled softly. "Neither do I." They sat quietly for a while, watching the clouds float below them. Then Sarai spoke again. "The council will ask me to step down as your guide. They believe I've become ... attached." Eli felt a sudden weight in his chest. "What will you say?" Sarai turned to him, her voice calm but steady. "I will tell them the truth. That I have found something in you that I cannot explain. Not love, not yet, but something real, and I will not hide it." Eli looked at her, surprised by her courage. "They may punish you." "I know," she said. "But if we do not speak, what is true, then what is peace worth?" Just then, a small group of Thyalari approached the garden. One of them, a tall male diplomat, reached out and touched Eli's shoulder without warning. It was part of their custom, but it startled Eli. He tensed up, his face turning red again. Sarai stepped forward quickly, her voice sharper than usual. "Do not touch him without asking." The group froze. No one had expected her to raise her voice. The diplomat lowered his hand. "Forgive me, Lady Sarai. I meant no harm." Eli watched in surprise. Sarai had just broken a cultural rule. Thyalari rarely corrected each other in public. She looked back at Eli. "If we wish to build a bridge between our worlds, it must be built with respect. That includes the human way." Eli smiled, feeling something new rise inside him. Not fear, not confusion. Hope, for the first time. He didn't feel like a visitor on Thalara Prime. He felt like he belonged. Rain fell gently over Thalara Prime. It wasn't heavy or cold, just a soft mist that sparkled as it touched the glowing trees and crystal roads. Eli Mercer stood under the cover of a high archway, watching the alien city shine in the rain. His thoughts were heavy. He had just finished sending a private report back to Earth. The message was clear. The Thyalari are not just allies. They are changing. Part of that change began with one person, Lady Sarai. She had defended him in front of her own people. She had protected his space when he was touched without warning. That small act meant something big. It showed that the Thyalari were beginning to understand human emotions' boundaries, respect, even trust. But now, a greater challenge stood ahead. Eli had received word. The Thyalari Council was considering a full reset of Sarai's memory. They believed her connection to a human could cloud her judgment. The idea shocked him. Erasing memories wasn't punishment. It was a racing part of her soul. He didn't know if Sarai had been told yet, and he didn't know how to stop it. A soft sound behind him made him turn. Sarai stood there, wearing a thin hood that barely kept off the rain. Her eyes met his, calm but serious. "I've heard," she said softly. Eli stepped toward her. "I'm so sorry, Sarai. This shouldn't happen." "You've done nothing wrong." "They do not see it that way," she replied. "They think I am too close to you, that I am becoming ... human." Eli sighed. "And is that such a bad thing?" Sarai looked out over the city. "To me, it is not. But to them, emotion is a path to danger. They fear that if I feel too much, I will lead others away from balance." Eli shook his head. "You've shown more balance than anyone I've met here." She smiled a little, then sat on a low bench under the arch. Eli joined her. For a long moment, they sat in silence, listening to the gentle sound of the rain. Then Sarai spoke again. "When I first touched your skin and saw your face turn red, I was only curious. I didn't understand why your body reacted that way, but now I do." Eli looked at her. "You do?" "Yes," she said softly. "It's a sign that something inside you is moving. A feeling rising, like heat, like light. It means you are alive in that moment, that you care." He nodded. "Blushing doesn't always mean love. Sometimes it just means we're caught between fear and honesty." Sarai turned to face him. "I'm not afraid anymore." Eli's eyes widened slightly. "Then what will you do?" "I have a choice," she said. "I can allow them to remove my memories of you, or I can refuse. But if I refuse, I will be removed from my position, maybe even exiled." "Not fair?" "No, it is not. But truth rarely is." Eli took a deep breath. "Then let me speak to the council. Let me explain what you've done for them for me. Maybe they'll listen." Sarai shook her head gently. "They trust your words, but they fear your emotions. If you speak, it may only make things worse." Eli looked down at his hands. "Then, what can we do?" Sarai stood and held out her hand to him. "We speak together as one. You and I, not as human and Thyalori, but as two people who have learned to trust each other." Eli stood and took her hand. Together. Later that day, as a grand council gathered in the Hall of Light, dozens of Thyalori watched from high platforms, silent and still. Eli stood beside Sarai as she stepped forward. She did not raise her voice. She did not cry. She simply spoke. "With truth, I have learned something from the human race," she said. "Not power, not technology, but understanding. They feel deeply, yes, but through those feelings they create peace, protect others, and grow stronger." She looked at Eli. "This human did not ask me to change. But by being himself, he reminded me that emotions are not weakness. They are a bridge." A low murmur moved through the hall. "If I must lose my place to keep my memories, I accept that, but I will not forget. And I will not pretend that what I learned was wrong." Then she stepped back and took Eli's hand in front of everyone. The hall was silent. No one had ever done this before, showing open connection between species. In front of the council, and for the first time, no one spoke against it. The Hall of Light remained silent long after Sarai finished speaking. Her words hung in the air like soft echoes. No one in the room had ever seen a Thyalari hold a human's hand in public, especially not in front of the council. Eli could feel hundreds of eyes watching him and Sarai. But for once, he didn't feel nervous or out of place. He stood beside her, calm and proud. Whatever happened next, he knew he had done the right thing. Then, the eldest council member arose from his seat. His name was Oren Vel, and his voice was like smooth stone. "Lady Sarai," he said, "your actions break many traditions. You touched the human without permission from the council. You formed a private bond. Now you speak of emotion as if it were strength." Sarai raised her chin slightly. "Because it is." Another council member stood up. "Emotion once led our kind to war. We chose peace, through control, through logic. Eli stepped forward, speaking carefully. And yet you invited ease humans into your world. You asked for connection, for understanding. But that must go both ways. We cannot pretend to be what we are not. Orenvel looked at Eli. You defend her, human. But if you care for her, would you not want her to stay safe? Her position gives her power. If she keeps these memories, she may lose everything. Soraya took a deep breath. I am aware. The council whispered among themselves. Then Orenvel turned back to her. You must decide, Lady Sarai. Either submit to the memory cleanse and remain part of the council, or keep your memories and step down forever. The room fell silent again. Eli looked at Sarai, his heart pounding. You don't have to choose this alone, he whispered. But Sarai slowly stepped forward. I choose to remember, she said clearly. Not because the memories are easy, but because they are real. This human made me feel something I had. Forgotten long ago, curiosity, joy, even fear. These are not dangers. These are life. Her words rippled through the crowd like quiet thunder. I will not let my memories be erased. I will give up my title, my place if I must, but I will keep what I have learned. The council members stared at her in silence. Then slowly Vel nodded. Very well, he said. Let it be known that Sarai of House Vel steps down from her position. She shall keep her memories, face her future as she chooses. Sarai bowed her head, not in shame but in peace. Eli walked beside her as they left the hall. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was clear, painted with soft golden light. The city below shimmered in silence, as if the world itself had paused. They walked side by side along a glowing path in the garden. No words were needed for a while, just steps, just breath, just the feeling of something changing between them and around them. Finally, Eli spoke. You gave up everything for a memory. Sarai looked at him and smiled. Not just a memory. A truth. A part of myself I didn't know was missing. Do you regret it? No, she said, touching her chest lightly. For the first time, I feel complete. Eli smiled. But inside, he knew things were not over. Sarai had made a brave choice, but others might not agree with her. Some would still see emotions. As a threat, we should return to my ship, Eli said, at least for now. Let things settle. Sarai nodded. Perhaps that is wise. As they walked toward the shuttle dock, many Thyalori watched them from a distance. Some curious, some silent, others thoughtful. The story of Sarai's choice was already spreading. Whispers would turn to conversations. Conversations would turn to change. When they reached the ship, Sarai paused and looked back at the city. I wonder, she said, how many more of my people are waiting to feel again? To remember what we've forgotten. Eli gently placed his hand over hers. Maybe this is just the beginning, he said, and together. They stepped into the shuttle not as strangers, not even as just diplomat and alien, but as two people, who had crossed a line not with war or words, with understanding. The stars above Thyalara Prime sparkled like diamonds on dark velvet. Eli Mercer stood on the viewing deck of the human ship, watching the planets slowly turn below. Had left the surface 3 days ago, giving the Thyalari time to absorb what had happened. He didn't know if he would be welcomed back, but today, a message came. It was short, simple, and written in the Thyalari language. Return, the council is ready. Now. Eli stood waiting as the shuttle glided back down to the planet. Sarai sat beside him, wearing new robes plain, with no symbols of rank, but her eyes still held the same light. In fact, they seemed brighter than before. Are you nervous? Eli asked. A little, Sarai said, but also hopeful. The shuttle landed softly on the garden platform outside the hall of Voices, a place once used only for silent meetings. Now it was filled with light and sound. Hundreds of Thyalari had gathered, not to protest, but to listen. As Eli and Sarai walked together into the hall, they noticed something surprising. Some of the Thyalari were smiling. Others were touching each other gently on the hand, the shoulder, even the face. These were things they had once done, only in private, or long ago in forgotten history. Now they were doing it freely. Orenvel, the elder council member, stepped forward. He looked different, too less strict, less distant. His hands were folded in front of him, but his expression was calm. "Lady Sarai," he said, or rather, simply, "Sarai, welcome." She bowed her head slightly. "Thank you." He turned to Eli and Commander Mercer. "You have shown us what words could not. You have given us a new path to consider." Eli stayed quiet, not wanting to interrupt. Oren continued. "For too long we believed that logic was the only way to avoid pain. But in hiding our emotions, we also lost something beautiful: connection. Your presence reminded us that emotion, when respected, is not weakness. It is truth." He looked around the hall. "We now begin something new. A shared program between humans and Thyaluri. We call it the empathic exchange. It will help our two kinds learn not just facts or science, but feeling, care, and trust." A soft wave of voices filled the hall, gentle, welcoming. Sarai stepped forward. "Then let us begin with a new tradition. One that combines your way and ours." She turned to Eli and gently reached for his hand. But this time, she paused. "May I?" she asked. Eli smiled and nodded. "Yes." Their fingers touched. A simple, quiet moment. But everyone in the hall felt it. A Thyaluri child whispered, "Why is the human's face red again?" Laughter echoed through the room, not mocking, but warm. Eli chuckled. It means I feel something real." Later, as the sun set, the celebration began. Music filled the air, soft tones from the glass flowers of the song garden, mixed with human instruments brought from Earth. Lights danced between the trees. People Thyaluri, and human shared food, stories, and peaceful silence. Eli sat beside Sarai, watching children from both species play near the glowing lake. "This is what peace looks like," he said. Sarai nodded. "Yes," and it began with a single question. Eli smiled. "You mean, why do you blush?" She laughed gently. "Yes, that question led us here." One small sign of emotion changed everything. Eli leaned back on the soft grass. "Do you think others will follow this path?" "Some will," Sarai replied. "Others will resist, but change has begun. And change, once it touches the heart, cannot be stopped." As night covered Thyalora Prime, stars reflected in the water, the two sat quietly, side by side, not as alien and human, not as diplomat and guide, but as friends. Two different worlds, one shared understanding, and a future that had just begun.